Hey guys, with talks of Hydroid possibly becoming the next Prime Warframe, and my high assumptions he will come with a rework like Oberon did, I thought I would give my ideas for giving him a rework on the off chance that DE sees this video, and even if they don't, I thought my ideas would make Hydroid pretty fun to use anyways, and I'd like to share this idea. Firstly, let me give you an overview of the issues of Hydroid by going through the abilities in order and describing their problems. His first ability, Tempest Barrage, has a low duration, a low damage to match, but also causes knockdowns on enemies which can be very useful. In addition, all his abilities except Tidal Surge deal finisher damage, ignoring enemy armor, which is handy despite the low damage. His second ability, Tidal Surge, is good for crowd control and even for movement when built for high duration, but the damage is low and the range is only okay. His third ability is regarded as the worst due to low damage for the most part, but it can be useful for high range to take problem enemies out of battle for a short time, then coming out of the puddle and letting a teammate with a high damage AoE weapon finish them off. It is also a good source of healing for allies with his augment, though it's sadly less useful for Hydroid himself, ironically. His fourth ability is rather lackluster, and while it claims to summon a creature from the deep to wreak havoc, what we really get is a mild form of crowd control and a good source of loot farming for lower levels. No monster ever appears, just some flopping tentacles that often cling to walls where it cannot reach enemies. Besides it being minimal in crowd control, it also has a limit on how many tentacles it spawns, which cannot be increased, making high range pointless as this just thins out the tentacles and causes less enemies to be grabbed overall. Even worse, DE claims to have fixed the issue with the game losing frames and glitching due to enemies being stretched and warped when ragdolled, but they haven't, so in tight groups it can cause hitching and FPS drops. Hydroid has a lot of problems, but I feel people give him less credit than he currently deserves. He can knock down enemies, ragdoll them, and remove them from battle for a short time, all in one frame, which can still be useful. He has a unique shield level of 115 at base and 345 max, and it's unknown if this has any significance, and he can look pretty cool with his Triton helmet, which makes him look like a pirate. With that said, he does need some sort of rework, and I feel my ideas would make him powerful, fun, but most importantly, useful. Firstly, let us talk about his first ability and how I feel it could be buffed. Ironically enough, even though this is his weakest ability generally speaking, all I suggest is making it a toggle ability, draining 1 energy per second as long as it's held. This will remove its ability to be recasted, but it will also allow you to lock down a small area as long as you have energy. This also benefits his augment a ton, as it will allow you to keep stripping enemy armor. His second ability will be completely changed and renamed to Typhoon. Typhoon will create a 30-meter area where thin rain and heavy winds will rock the area, slowing enemy movement by 15% and sometimes ragdolling them from the force of the winds. In addition, when combined with his first ability, the high winds will cool the droplets, doubling the drop damage and adding 20% cold damage with a chance to proc for each drop. This synergy will create a deadly hailstorm in the area, forcing enemies to slog through heavy sleet and winds to reach Hydroid. For Undertow, the ability will have an added bonus to the normal effects. Hydroid can turn into a puddle like normal, and if the player keeps moving they will resurface like normal, but leave a whirling mass of water in his wake that continues to keep in the enemies and suck in new ones, and last 10 seconds. Going into Undertow again will make the vortex vanish, however. For his final ability, however, this is where the real fun I mentioned comes in. The name will be changed to Plunder and has multiple effects and synergies with his other abilities. Instead of summoning tentacles, sword-wielding water monsters appear from the floor from puddles around Hydroid, and as they fully appear, a thunderstorm appears, slightly darkening the immediate area and causing rain effects to fall. These water monsters wield Nami solos and will replenish if any are killed, spawning from puddles left on the casting area, but no more than 5 monsters at a time. Within 30 meters of the original casting area, the thunderstorm rages on, occasionally zapping enemies with dangerously high bolts of electricity, dealing 400 base electric damage each. Occasionally, a water monster will spawn with a flagpole with the festive Halloween skull etched on the cloth. These monsters deal additional damage, and enemies killed by them will grant Hydroid bonus energy, in addition to those enemies dropping 200% more loot from their drop table, unaffected by power strength. Combined with his first and new second ability, this causes enemies to become frozen, knocked down, electrified, and forced to drop extra loot, making him a lot more useful than he currently is. And a few more notes before I forget, his max energy will be raised to 225 to match a general caster frame, and the augments will be slightly tweaked for his second and last ability. Instead of granting allies proc resistance, allies within the storm will be harder to target by enemies, as the high winds will reduce their accuracy with the augment. As for his final ability, the augment will make all water monsters spawn as the special looting/pirate-esque enemies, and also guaranteeing credit drops from enemies they kill based on their standard loot tables. So that's my elaborate idea to make Hydroid more of the pirate he should have been in the first place. I'd like to know how you guys feel about these changes I mentioned, and as always, thanks for watching.